All right, we're getting started. I want to thank you for all of the questions you had at the beginning of our session today, which was a recap of your assignment. As you notice, today I've provided an outline for you, and we are in our official second week of public speaking. Number one, developing confidence is going to be our emphasis as we get started. We're going to cover the subject of nervousness, understanding that it's normal, and we're going to be dealing with nervousness from pages 9 through 17. All right, I asked you to write down a term earlier, and that term was diction. Did you look up that word, diction? If you have a smartphone, somebody volunteer now, and let's discuss that. The word is diction. D-I-C-T-I-O-N. And the reason I'm referring to diction is that in public speaking, that's one of the things you have to work on. Diction is learning how to pronounce your words properly. When Deacon Larry was going over his assignment, he mentioned the term orator, but I had to correct him a couple of times. The word he used wasn't wrong, it was the diction he was using, all right? And so give me your definition of diction. Anyone? Did you look it up? Go ahead, Carlette.
They had two of them. The first one said the choice and use of words and phrases in speech or writing. But it sounds like from what you just said, number two might be the style of enunciation in speaking.
I want you to get enunciation in speaking. Now, the reason why that first definition was given is because it's a part of the public speaking process. Read that first part again.
The choice and use of words.
The choice and use of words.
And phrases in speech or writing.
And phrases in speech or writing. So that's one part of diction. But what I want you to be aware of is enunciation. How to pronounce words and use enunciation properly. And that comes with time, all right? It's all about understanding the words you're using and being able to communicate it properly using good enunciation. Now, I happen to have gone to an all-Catholic elementary school and all-Catholic high school back in the day, okay? And I was stopped by a nun one day. I think I was in the 10th grade, Sister Bro, and this nun said to me, Larry, you have good diction. I had to go home and look up the meaning, okay? She said, you have good diction. What that means is that the idea of pronouncing words, enunciating words is important in public speaking. You want to learn how to relax in doing that, where it's not mechanical, where it's natural, but you have to practice doing that, okay? All right? So let's move on. Questions about diction. Look at the first page today, I believe is page 9 of your textbook, Developing Confidence in Your Speech Class. One of the major concerns of students in any speech class is stage fright. Highlight stage fright. And we had some discussion about that earlier. It seems like as soon as you take the stage, here we go, all the juices start flowing, okay? Juices you never thought you had, you know, those juices start flowing. It's called stage fright. We may as well face the issue squarely. Many people who converse easily in all kinds of everyday situations become frightened at the idea of standing up before a group to make a speech, all right? That is also normal, okay? You have to work through that. Look at the next paragraph. You'll find this statistic interesting, or these statistics interesting. If you are worried about stage fright, you may feel better knowing that you are not alone. Highlight this. A 2001 Gallup poll asked Americans to list their greatest fears. Highlight this. Put the statistics in your notes. 40% identified speaking before a group as their top fear. In other words, their top fear was speaking in front of a group. Now that wasn't very long ago, Jane, 2001, when this survey was done. Okay? Look at it. Look at the next line. All right, so the idea of speaking before a group as their top fear exceeded only by 51% who said they were afraid of snakes. So the greatest fear of most people is snakes. But in a public setting, it's speaking in front of an audience. 40 what percent? 40%, right? 40%. In a 2005 survey, produced similar results. So now that's a closer statistic, with 42% of respondents being terrified by the prospect of speaking in public. In comparison, only 28% said that they were afraid of dying. All right? So there are people who are more afraid of speaking in front of an audience than the fear of death. That says a lot. That says how speaking makes people nervous. Speaking in front of a group. They fear it more than dying. All right, next paragraph. In a different study, researchers concentrated on social situations and again asked their subjects to list their greatest fears. More than, highlight this, 9,000 people were interviewed. Here is the ranking of their answers. What are the greatest fears? Public speaking. Number one. Okay, out of 9,000 people surveyed. Okay, public speaking. Number two, speaking up in a meeting or class, where you got to stand up in front of a group of people in a meeting or class. Number three, meeting new people is a fear. Number four, talking to people in authority. In other words, I'm going to actually talk to that person. And that person is a senator or a congresswoman or a president. Okay? Number what? 5, 6. Number 5, important examination or interview. That is also a fear. Taking an exam or having an interview. All right? Number 6, going to parties. Number 7, talking with strangers. Again, speech making is at the top in provoking anxiety. All right? So number 1, the number 1 fear of people is public speaking. Out of 9,000 people that were interviewed. Questions or comments about that? Now, we all talk about nervousness, and nervousness is normal. I would like to use a different word, Betty. It's natural. I think when we say natural, that means that it is to be expected. When we say normal, that means that you fall into a category of what could be normal or abnormal. I like the word natural. It's natural to be nervous, all right? It is unnatural not to be nervous, okay? So being nervous is natural. The key, though, is learning how to what? Manage your nervousness, okay? You have to learn how to manage, harness, control your nerves, okay? And that comes over time. But it is natural to be nervous. All right, moving on. Look at that paragraph. If you feel nervous about giving a speech, you are in very good company. Some of the greatest public speakers in history have suffered from stage fright. I told you, Betty, you are in good company, including Abraham Lincoln, Margaret Sanger, and Winston Churchill, the famous Roman orator Cicero, as you studied for your, I mentioned Cicero, it was Pericles that we talked about, but highlight this. Cicero said, and I quote, "I turn pale at the outset of a speech and quake in every limb and in my soul." End of quote. What is he saying, Jane? He's actually saying, I get pale when it's time to speak in front of an audience. Okay. That's an anxiety attack, okay? Now, Oprah Winfrey, and bless her soul, she may be running for president. Yes. Isn't that amazing? All right, Oprah Winfrey. By the way, I knew her before she became famous. I was in Chicago preaching, and she was on a local television station in Chicago as a regular anchor person. Okay, she's come a long way. One of the wealthiest in America now. Okay, go Oprah. And by the way, when we go to Africa this year, we're going to visit her school in Soweto. We're going to visit Oprah's school. I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to make that happen. Okay, so Oprah Winfrey, Conan O'Brien, and Jay Leno all report being anxious about speaking in public. Early in his career, Leonardo DiCaprio, an actor, was so nervous about giving an acceptance speech that he hoped he would not win the Academy Award for which he had been nominated. Highlight this. In other words, give it to me in private, all right? Don't tell me I won, because I don't want to have to get up, okay? All right, highlight this. 81% of business executives say public speaking is the most nerve-wracking experience they face. What comedian Jerry Seinfeld said in jest sometimes seems literally true. Given a chance, and I quote, at a funeral, most of us would rather be the one in the coffin than the one giving the eulogy. And it happens. In my early career in ministry, I'm celebrating 44 years in the ministry. In the first 25 years of my ministry, Jane, I did more funerals than I think any licensed minister in this city. You know, and I'm a young man, you know, in ministry and having to do all these funerals. Doing a eulogy is not easy. It is not easy. It is one of those occasions that, you know, you have to be all things for all people. You never have the right words to say, so you have to learn how to adapt to it. One of the best ways to adapt to a eulogy is find out as much as you can about the person who died, okay? That's a good way of doing it. But you're not always going to have that opportunity, because like my last funeral, I was called to do a funeral for someone I didn't know. I knew of, but didn't know the person. So guess what? My first comments was, I wish I had more time to have known this person. So what does that tell my audience? Don't expect to hear anything from me about this person. You see? All right, so there's some psychology involved in public speaking as well. All right? I'm going to take about 3 more minutes, Deacon Larry, and then we're going to stop that video, start a new one. All right, now, follow me, read along with me. Actually, most people tend to be anxious before doing something important in public. Actors are nervous before playing. Politicians are nervous before a campaign speech. Athletes are nervous before a big game. The ones who succeed have learned to use their nervousness to their advantage. Highlight that. How do you do that? How do you use your nervousness to your advantage? It comes with time. You have to learn yourself and what makes you nervous and how to deal with that nervousness. If I gave you a suggestion, that might work for me, but it may not work for you. You know what I'm saying? And so it all depends. I could tell you that one way to deal with it is to try to get to your occasion early. You know, wherever you have to speak, try to get there and kind of survey the landscape, see who you're going to be speaking to, kind of get a feel for that environment. Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it crowded? Just whatever it is you can do to take the attention off of being nervous. All right? Let's continue. Listen to tennis star Rafael Nadal speaking after his 2010 Wimbledon title match against Thomas Birchie. I was a little bit more nervous than usual, he admitted. But if you are not nervous in the finals of Wimbledon, you are not human, he said. Okay, putting his butterflies to good use, Nadal beat Birchie in straight sets to to claim his second Wimbledon championship. Much of the same thing happens in speech making. Most experienced speakers have stage fright before taking the floor. Highlight this. But their nervousness is a healthy sign that they are getting psyched up for a good effort. Novelist and lecturer I.A.R. Wiley once said, after many years of practice, I am, I suppose, really a practiced speaker. I like that. Practiced speaker. But I rarely use my feet without a throat constricted with terror and a furiously thumping heart. When, for some reason, I'm cool and self-assured, the speech is always a failure. Highlight that. In other words, he says, when I'm nervous, I use it. I tend to do better when I'm nervous than when I'm not. All right? You could pause it, Larry. Or just press the stop button.